Okay, well, I can play something. I can play something.
Okay, yeah, this is frozen. So. I hope you have a good day.
I'm taking care of business. I got work to do. I got work to do. Yes, I got work to do. So much work, baby. You are listening to The Workplace right here live at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. The phone lines are already open at 501-433-0088. Phone lines are already open at 501-433-0088. Those of you who listen to us on the regular, you know that your regular host is the pastor, Toney Orr, who is not in right now. He might be coming in just a minute. I don't know. We'll just see what happens and go with the flow. But I am your host for right now. I am the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you today. And I do hope that you will share your insights and as it relates to what I have to say, because I really do like it when you call in. I really do like it when you share your opinions. I really do like it when you have something to say. I do want to pause for some announcements. We were not able to get our station ID up and going, so let me make sure that I make the announcements that you probably would have heard had that been up. So, free CD giveaway at KABF 88.3 FM. Attention, music lovers. We're clearing out our collection and giving away free CDs in a variety of genres, including jazz, country, rock, world, movie soundtracks, compilations, and more. Find your next favorite album and build your music collection. CDs are available for pickup Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Where? Right here at 2101 South Main Street in Little Rock. Spread the word and stop by to grab some treasures while supplies last. It's first come, first serve, so don't miss out. Support and donate to KABF.org. What's today's date? Okay. The Arkansas State Claims Commission will hold hearings on April 3rd and 4th of this year, beginning at 9 a.m. each day. So it's already started for today. You've got 6 minutes. You're 6 minutes late for today, but you can also do this on tomorrow. The commission will also hold a special hearing. All April hearings will be conducted via Zoom. To obtain the Zoom invitation, any of these hearings, to obtain the Zoom invitation to any of the hearing days, please contact Sabrina Hike at 501-682-1619. To obtain the Zoom invitation to any of the hearing days, please contact Sabrina Hike at 501-682-1619. For more information, if there are any questions, please contact the commission office at that same number, 501-682-1619. Attention, Arvest customers. Protect your debit card like never before with Arvest fraud alerts. Here's how it works. If suspicious activity is detected, Arvest sends you a text alert. Reply yes to confirm the transaction or no if it's fraudulent. It's fast, easy, and keeps your card safe. Learn more about this powerful protection at arvest.com/fraud-alerts. Arvest fraud alerts, keeping you one step ahead of fraud. Those are our community announcements for today. Please govern yourself accordingly. I want to always make sure that we start every single program reminding you of how special you are, how, I don't want to use the word special, how valuable you are, invaluable. Like there's no cost, there's no price we can put on. We can't even begin to imagine how to calculate what you offer to this space with your donations, with your support, with your encouragement, with your challenges, with your pushback, with your showing up all the time in every space where we put forth a call. We have a call to action all the time in various different arenas, and many of you show up in all of them. Some of you show up where you feel like you have the most passion, and that's what we want you to do. And so we want you to know how grateful we are for you, and we do realize that we would not be able to celebrate 41 years if it were not for you. And we don't ever want you to think that we take that for granted. So we don't want to start any show without saying thank you to our listeners. We are KABF 88.3 FM, the voice of the people, and you are the people, and you matter the most. I want to take a moment today to talk about voting. I was just sharing with Jesse before we came on live how I've been very, very public about how I feel about voting. I've been extremely public about it. I've been extremely vocal about it because, well, basically that's who I am. I talk for a living. People say, I have some friends that say that, yeah, she talk all the time. Is she a professional talker? That's what I do. I talk for a living. It would be interesting though, because if you could be a fly on the wall in my home, you wouldn't hear anything. It's complete silence in my home. The phone is not ringing, the TV is not playing, the music isn't even playing. Like there's nothing, there's no sound at all if you walk through the doors. But anyway, I've been very public about how I feel about voting, and I've been standing firm. I mean, I've been standing 10 toes down on the fact that my ancestors gave their lives so that we could have a right to vote. My ancestors, my elders, they gave their lives, right? Like this has been a journey for us as people, members of the African diaspora, and we are calling those people diasporians. That those of us who are diasporians, members of the African diaspora, we have been on this journey of really, really just standing in the face of inhumanity all the time and still being able to exist, right? Like, so this world, this system of white inhumanity at its core wants to obliterate diasporians, like that. You just don't want us to exist. That's true. But in the face of all of that, in the face of all of the trauma, in the face of all of the lies and the false narratives and the myths, in the face of all the slaughter and the rape and the degradation, in the face of all the dehumanization, we are still here and we are still fighting, and we're fighting in all of the ways that we can imagine to really, really just to exist. That's really what we're doing, is fighting to exist. And so as part of this fight, as part of this this war that we're in, I've always said that voting is important. And I wanted to vote because I felt like to vote is to honor the work of my elders and to feel as if they had passed the torch on to me, since we still have not realized true, I'm going to say equality, because there's a difference between equality and equity. So I definitely want to use equality in this sentence, like in this declaration. We have not achieved true equality where we say, I'm going to treat all humans as humans. There's not going to be a difference in the way that I treat you, because you are human and all humans should be treated the same. So that's equality. When we talk about equity, we're saying, oh, I acknowledge that because we have not been treating all humans the way that all humans should be treated, we've created some deficits. We've created some disparities. We've been intentional about our design of creating this caste system where members of the diaspora are on the bottom. And so because of that, we need to meet you where you are. We need to repair, which is what reparations will do. We need to repair the harm that we have caused in not creating these equal systems. And so now we have to deal with equity. We have to make sure that we level the playing field so that people can have a fresh start. And we haven't done that work at all. I don't even think it's on the reparations is not on the table. Equity is not on the table. As a matter of fact, this particular administration has decided to be very blatant and overt about taking equity, diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, belonging, taking all of that off of the table. And so I've been really I really want to honor the work of my ancestors, my elders, to say it is important for me to vote. So every single election since I've been able to vote, I have never not voted since I've been able to vote. What are you're able to vote at 18? I think that's the age. I'm not really sure. I think it's 18. Well, I'm 52. I'll be 53 next month, and I've never not voted. I'm talking about if it's a primary, special election, general election, presidential election. I don't care what it is. If it says election, if I can make my voice heard at the ballot box, that's what I would do. And so I've been standing really firm on that position. And I've been in conversations with people about it, and I've been arguing my case against them arguing against it. And so I said, if I'm going to be very vocal about that, then I think I need to be, I know I need to be just as vocal about the fact that I really feel my ideology around that shifting. Like, I'm not really sure in this. I haven't landed. So I'm not saying that I'm not going to vote anymore. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that I am now entertaining those thoughts. I am now sitting back in the cut, sitting back in my home, sitting back in my bed, sitting back in my office, sitting around tables with other folks. I'm just having conversations one-on-one. I'm just really just trying to parse this out. Like, is it beneficial for us to vote in this time that we are living in these systems that we are facing that continue to dominate and oppress and use power and intimidation and war and lies to control our bodies and our minds and even our souls when we add the arena of religion to the conversation. Like, is it really helpful for us to go to the ballot box? And so part of the conversation for me is always, I wish I could be in dialogue with my elders. Like, what would they say to me? Like, if I said to I'm trying to, I believe I'm blanking on her. Fannie Lou Hamer. If I was in conversation right now with Fannie Lou Hamer and I said to her, I don't think I want to vote anymore. Like I don't think it has any merit anymore. Like I don't think it's important anymore. Like I wonder what she would say. And so when I'm trying to make these decisions, I want to have as many conversations as I can. And so I try to sit and listen. I want to listen to see how would she respond to me? What would it feel like in her body to hear me say, yeah, I know that you did all of this work. I know you got your head busted in. Like, I know that you were like bloody. I know that they were just beating you to a pulp because you dared to argue for equal rights, even across the board, including voting. And now here I am saying, I don't think that matters anymore. I feel some kind of way about having this conversation. And so that's one of the reasons why I say, no, I got to vote, because I would not want I would not want to traumatize her by having this conversation. And I also want to give room for her to say, listen, baby, sit on down. You know what I wish, this is a moment where I wish I had hair. I remember when I was a child and my mom used to comb my hair, and she would sit in the recliner. Both my mom and dad had recliners on opposite sides of the room, and they were like sit in their recliners and watch TV together, read the paper together, just share the space together. And my mama would rear back in her recliner, and she would cross her legs, crisscross applesauce, and I would sit in that space that she creates in the crisscross applesauce. And I would sit there, and she would comb my hair. Well, sometimes she wouldn't be combing my hair. She would be scratching your scalp. Y'all know about scratching your scalp. She parted, and then she scratched, and then she parted. Oh, it felt so good. And then she massaged. That would just be our tender time in the midst of whatever day she felt, she called me forth to do that. So I feel like I would do that with Fannie Lou Hamer. Like, she'd be sitting in a chair, and I sit on the floor, and I scoot back so I'd be right between her legs, and she's got her knees on the side of my rib cage on the side, and she's holding me, and she's talking to me about this voting. And so I want to make room for her in this conversation to say, yeah, baby, that's how it was with us. But you're living in a different day now. You got to come up with that's what we felt was best for us. That was the strategy that we deployed. That was what we got together in church, when church was real church, when church for Black folks was political power, where political power was unleashed, not just in that room, but also beyond those four walls, when the church got together to collaborate about how we were going to take care of when the church was real church for Black folks. So that's what we got together and we talked about, right? Because that is what we knew was going to work for us. But you got to figure out that for yourself. And I've already given you, this Fannie Lou Hamer, I've already given you, through the power of my demonstration, through the power of my life story, through the power of the legacy that I have left for you, I've already given you enough confidence to know that you have everything you need to figure it out for your time, for such a time as this, because you're in a different season now. So I do want to give her room to say, it's a different season, so what are y'all going to do? Because clearly what you're doing right now ain't working. Do we need to have that conversation? Clearly what you're doing right now ain't working. So what else are you going to do? And so that's where I'm leaning right now in this conversation about voting. It is absolutely positively clear to me that it is not voting. Now, if somebody says, well, voting does make a difference. I really don't want to argue that point, that it doesn't make a difference or that it could make a difference. But I will argue that it's not making a difference to me right now. Like, let's just think about the presidential election. And we keep talking about this democracy that we live in. We say it's a democracy, and yet not every person's vote counts. Because when you think about the electoral college is those are the only votes that matter when we are determining who's going to be president of the United States. So every state doesn't carry the same number of votes. So there's already this injustice in the way that we are collecting the votes, the way that we are deciding which vote, these votes from this these swing states. And so that's why you have the people that campaign. Sometimes they don't even campaign in Arkansas. Sometimes they don't even campaign in Mississippi. It's like, you really don't matter that much, right? When it's time for us to think about the Electoral College. And so when I think about all the mechanisms that are in place, when they gutted Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act, when we think about how even when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, like, well, that doesn't matter, that the majority, like the people said we want you. No. We want to use this Electoral College. And the Electoral College was created so that we could have as many slave states, their votes counting, so that we could keep slaves in place. Okay? So we're still using that same system. We say, no, we're beyond racism. No, we live in a post-racial society. That's a lie. We do not, because we continue to hold on to these systems that were birthed during the time of chattel enslavement. We continue to hold on to them and say, so they continue to guide us. And so I do feel like there's a conversation that we can have about, is there something else we can do? Because voting cannot be the answer. If somebody wants to say it's an answer, okay, I'll go with that. But it cannot be the answer. I'm afraid that that's what many of us, including me at the time, were thinking, that no. If just more Black people vote, if we just have more people in the public, if we raise the level of consciousness around voter literacy, if we have more town halls, if we have more people's assemblies, like if we could just get people engaged, we need more civic engagement, then that is what will make the difference. I'm no longer sure that that's true. And so I'm shifting in my idea about the power of voting. And I want y'all to talk to me about it. Here's somebody right here. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF 88.3. Thanks for calling.
You're more than welcome. Good morning, Sister Denise, and listeners, and also those on the web. Let me just say this. Voting, you've got a president now who's bragging on the so-called Black man who voted for him, or the Black woman who voted for him, or the Latino who voted for him. So these votes are so important that the president is bragging on being able to get those votes. If it wasn't for those votes, he wouldn't have won. Not only did Hillary Clinton lose and won the popular vote, Al Gore won the popular vote. All of them won the popular vote that lost. And it was, as you said, the Electoral College that allowed those presidents to get into the White House. And there's an old saying, we've got turncoats, and I'm not just calling whoever voted for President Trump a turncoat. I'm calling whoever is against the progress of our nation, our Black nation, our this what's that word you use? Diaspora nation, and those who are underrepresented. The Indians call them big apples, red on the outside, white on the inside. The Blacks had a name called Oreos, black on the outside, white on the inside. So we don't have a guarantee that those of us who know what voting is all about, or don't know, or are literate or illiterate, or practical, or just downright silly because we've got a little something and we want to make sure that we keep it, because it's not like what we got. We got it because of their generosity. Believe that. If we got anything, we didn't just stumble up on it. we worked like a mule to get it. Some folks say like a Hebrew slave. So I just want to make that known. If the vote wasn't important, our present president would not be bragging, if you will, about those so-called Black men, those so-called Black women who voted for him and who talk about his progress and what he's going to do. I heard a so-called automobile worker say he's going to bring jobs back. He's not the one that took them away in the first place. They use these different narratives to control how people think and act. Buy American. You don't know who you buying. You didn't produce it. It might have a Japanese name, and the owner is Mr. Ford. Mr. Chrysler or somebody. We don't know who these industrialists are or where they are. We just know that we are their workers, and that's all we've ever been in this country. So the vote does matter, and it might not matter to the extent that we can see a certain progress. But boy, if you start trying to organize voting and get folks together, you'll see how important it is, because you'll have fire hoses, dogs, corrupt judges, and the whole system against you if you try to exercise that vote that you say is not important as it used to be, or it's not as result-oriented as it should be. So that's what I want to let you hear from me. And those are my sincere beliefs, and it's just my beliefs. It's not, anything that you can write down and take it to the bank. They don't want you to go to the library and get enlightened anymore, so they're going to take over what you learn from going to the library, the bibliothèque, that's what they call it over there in France, where you just left. We have always had libraries. As a matter of fact, the world had the only library in Africa, and it was destroyed. They had a big fire over there. So we know how to learn, and we know how to make sure that what we do is the right thing. But when we disagree with what really is the fundamental truth of a situation, then all sort of bad things happen. And it'll happen to anyone who denies the truth, because in the end, goodness is going to reign over that which is not. And I don't care about a corrupt judge saying that our right to vote is not legitimate and do away with the gains we've made. We just have to go out and get them again. That's how that goes. What's her name? Moses, the lady that helped all the blacks escape and go up north. Harriet Tubman. Yes. She just kept on trying. She never did stop. So you just have to keep trying. You can't stop. And that's my take on it. So don't give up. The vote is so important that right now, if you mobilize everybody around here and went down there and stood in front of all these registered voters, stood in front of the Capitol and united in that effort like was done before, you'll see how important it is. And I'm talking about in the red states. I'm not talking about, you don't have to leave nowhere and go, just right here where we live. So that's my take on how important something is. If it wasn't important, we wouldn't be bragging on it. If it wasn't important, they wouldn't put out the fire hoses and all the state police and the chief of police and all those law enforcement agents who represent the so-called good of America. We see how good they are, at least I did. I grew up in the 60s. I was born in the 40s, but I know about how good somebody is from what I've experienced. So that's my take on it. And then you always allude to just how it's been ever since we've been here with the race riots in Charleston and parts of Arkansas and parts of Oklahoma and parts of Indiana and all the other places where they lynch. I didn't even mention Mississippi. I let Nina Simone do that. So that's a euphemism. You know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't want to say it on TV or on the radio. That's Mississippi GD. All right. Well, thank you once again. Keep up the good work. Now, I want to hear what everybody else got to say about it, because, a lot of people have a lot of things to do about voting. And all of a sudden, they ain't said nothing about all these folks that said they voted for him. So he's in there now. I don't think there's a lot you can do about that. So, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful day. Success to you.
Thanks, Ezekiel. I have lots to say in response to what you just said. Thank you so much for calling. Let me get these comments in right here, though. So Deidre says, this is Deidre. To the caller, that proves that democracy is not real. Yeah, I was going to circle back to that about when you said that it is true that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but not only did she win the popular vote, Al Gore won the popular vote. That's what the caller, Ezekiel, offered. And so for you to then turn around and say, but they lost. Okay, so let's think about that, right? They won the popular vote, meaning that when the people voted, when the people made their voice known, when the people said, this is who we want, they denied the people their voice in favor of what Electoral College says, which again, Electoral College supports the system of chattel enslavement and continues to support it, then how is that proving that the vote matters if we voted and then you took it away from us? Okay, let me get this call and then I'll get this other comment. Call your live on the air, KABF at 8.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Good morning. I enjoyed the show. First of all, I'm 77 and I never voted and I don't intend to vote. Seems like it's something not working for you. You have enough sense to come up with some other strategy. Now, people can vote all they want to, but they don't get what they get. Me, myself, to be, we say, I'm equal under the law, I have rights. But whose law are you talking about? You're talking about the law of this system. If you're using, we are equal in several ways under universal law. So if you don't want to exercise your universal law, then stick with man's law. You're going to come up short. That's all, every time, not one time. Universal law do not change. And we don't know nothing about our people. I ain't never even nobody talk about universal law. So how are you expecting to be free? Black people out here, oh, you got a white man in a black body. No. Black people do not have no white man because white people build nations in life at all costs. They don't cut nothing. And we ain't trying to build no nation. We are trying to get justice in a nation that don't give a damn about you. That's really true. Now, everybody can have their own opinion. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, caller. I appreciate that. And that reminds me of the song that Ezekiel said that he mentioned about Nina Simone. Mississippi Goddamn is the name of that song, Mississippi Goddamn. And so it's also interesting to me when I think about what Ezekiel said about the vote wouldn't. Let me give you these statistics first. In 2016, 8% of the Black community supported Trump. In 2020, he won 13% of the Black community's vote. And now in 2020, for this election, 2024, he won 20% of the vote. And so those numbers say that Trump is gaining more and more popularity within the Black community. So that would be factual according to these numbers. It's not true, though, when you say if the Black people hadn't voted for him, he wouldn't have won, because those numbers did not put him in office. Let's be clear about that. So to say that Trump is around here bragging on Black folks because he wants to, he is now underscoring the power of the vote. I doubt very seriously that's why he's bragging on the Black vote. I doubt very seriously that that's what he's doing. And so I just wanted to make sure that I just kind of parsed that out a little bit just about these numbers. That yes, more Black people were in favor of Trump than ever before. That is true. The fact that they put him in office, that is not true. And the fact that Trump is touting this as a way to remind us of how important the vote is, I doubt very seriously that's the motivation behind those words. Okay, so Deidre says, I think the numbers say that Black people are becoming further away from reality. I think the numbers say that Black people are becoming further away from reality. Okay, okay, let's put that out there. And then I think that the numbers are showing that Black people are becoming even more and more capitalistic. Hold on just a minute. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF at 8.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Okay, I'm just going to be real quick. In my experience, whenever I'm talking to a Black Trump voter, it was like being in the twilight zone, and it's absolutely an experience that you want to miss. Thank you.
Caller, it's funny that you say that because I was at a table with a Trump supporter, a Black woman Trump supporter, and I looked over at some point in the conversation, I looked over at another Black woman, non-Trump supporter, and I said, is I'm in the twilight zone? I feel you on that. It is, everybody has a right to their opinion, like the other caller said, and that is true. And I am a living witness, that I also have a right to critique whatever opinion you put out there. And so you can put it out there. Let's talk about it. Let's go back and forth about it. Let's exchange our ideas. And so that's what we did at the table. And it did not end well, just like you said, it's just not going to end well. And so I feel like I want to go back to something that Ezekiel said. Ezekiel mentioned Mother Moses, who we know as Harriet Tubman. And he said, well, look at what she did. She didn't stop. I just want to remind us that Harriet Tubman was operating outside of the system that was created to enslave her. She said, I know a way. There's a way that I can get free, but I can't get free like this. I cannot get free doing what they want me to do. I cannot get free being controlled by them. I cannot get free praying their prayers and worshiping their God. Like, that ain't the way I'm going to get free. I got to do something different. I've got to be innovative. I got to be creative. I do have to collaborate. I got to collaborate with people who are thinking like I am, people who are willing to say, I will put my life on the line too. So I'm going to let you use my house as part of the Underground Railroad, and I'm going to keep my mouth closed. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to turn you in. I'm not going to be a turncoat. You said turncoat. Somebody said, and you also said Big Apple. This was Ezekiel talking. I call him coon. Y'all tell me the difference between a turncoat and a coon, because I'm still struggling with this idea, this definition of coon. I said to some people and they like, yep. And I said to other people like, I don't say that. So I'm like, who's a coon? And so when we talk about this voting, and you say, well, it's so important, and if we just don't give up, it's gonna make a difference. I'm wondering when. For me, it feels like that same thing. Like we're still waiting for white folks, the system of whiteness, the system of white inhumanity, to recognize the humanity of Black folk. How long have we been waiting? It's beyond 400 years at this point. And so how long? So we just gonna keep voting, saying, well, one of these old days. Excuse me. One of these old days, we wishing up on a star. We wishing up on a star. So at one point do we say, okay, I have been doing this, and I did think that it was a good roadmap. I really felt like it was a great blueprint. I do think they set us up with a good framework, but for us, we cannot see the fruit of their labor. Now, when we think about what was happening in this, like, I don't even feel like we have the same Black community. Because let me tell you something. I wasn't here in the 60s. I wasn't born until 72. So I'm not going to presume to know anything about what anybody was thinking. I'm not going to presume to know any of that. All I'm going to do is go on my research, go on my story, the stories that have been told to me. I'm talking about when I'm sitting at the feet. I'm not talking about stories somebody told me that wasn't there. I'm talking about the people that were there and they're sharing stories with me. I'm talking about the stories that I heard from my mama, who was 86 before she left. That we wouldn't even be having a conversation in the 60s about, well, no, I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna take that back. I doubt 20% of the Black folks during the 60s would have been voting against their own interests. I said 20%. It might have been 1%, but I doubt very seriously there'll be 20%, because I think that we have to also factor into this conversation about voting the fact that Black folks are not on the same page. When Deidre says, I think these numbers show us that Black folks are getting further and further away from their own reality, I think there's some truth in that, because when we think about the 60s, we were all believing ourselves to be the same as Black folks. Can't none of us vote. Can't none of us get the jobs. Can't none of us sit at the counter. We all in the same situation. We are all fighting for the same rights, for the same recognition, for the same honoring of our dignity. Because you don't give me dignity. I already got dignity. You just don't want to see it. You just dismiss it. But we were on a different page. See, now you got Black folks, members of the diaspora, diasporians, who feel like they've arrived. You got Black folks who feel like, because I have this job, because I live in this neighborhood, because my children, not kids, we need to stop calling our children kids. I was talking to, when I tell you I love talking to the elders, I was talking to a woman, Miss Sarah, who's 89 years old. I was just talking to her on Sunday, and she said, we do a whole lot of segregation, but we don't do a lot of integration. But when they was talking about integration, that's when we started calling our children kids. She said, we didn't do that. See, that's not what we said. We would say, look at my children. These are my children. Look at my babies. Those are my babies over there. It's this integration stuff that started us talking about our children as kids. Like we don't know what a kid is. We don't know that a kid is an animal. Stop calling your children kids. And so from Miss Sarah's mouth, through my voice, stop calling your children kids. They are not animals. They are children. They are little humans. And so when we have lost sight of what it means to celebrate Blackness. Because when we talk about the 60s, one of the things we like to bring up the Black Panthers. We like to bring that up. We like to bring up the power that they show. We like to bring up the confidence and the boldness. We like to bring up the fact that they were in uniform. You're talking, Beyonce don't know nothing about formation. If she's not going to talk about the Black Panthers, she might have. I'm not a fan. I don't know what she's doing. But if she talked about them, okay, good for you. So we don't know anything about that because we got Black folks now that's too scared to stand. You're too scared to say what you need to say on your job. We were just having this conversation the other day where somebody was saying, well, you know how, oh no, my godson. He said, he calls me Miss Denise. I keep telling him he can call me Denise, but you know, he grew up in that time. Okay. He said, you know, Miss Denise, you know what I mean, Miss Denise, that, you know, that first time that you in the presence of your white friends and one of them called and one of them say nigga. And I said, and he kept on, he said, you know, so back, he said, now I feel good about myself because now I'll stand up. But back then I just kind of laughed with it. And I let him talk, and we talked about it because he was emoting. We were having this conversation. Something had happened at school. I wanted to come alongside him. What we gonna do? How we gonna address it? And then I circled back and I said, well, let me just go on record as saying, no, I don't know what that's like to be in the presence of white folks. And they use the word nigga and I not say anything. No, I don't know. And I will never know what that's like because I'm not one of those ones that's gonna let you get away with it because I'm worried about losing my job. I'm not one of those ones that's gonna let you get away with making jokes that you know are not good, that are not healthy or not wholesome, that are discriminatory and harmful and traumatizing. You cannot get away with that behavior in my presence. See, we got Black folks that let that stuff happen and you somebody's cute. Well, you know, I ain't want, And so if we are going to talk about what worked, and we're going to say, well, let's hold on to what worked back then, and then we got to talk about what was working across the board. We had Black folks who was bold, and during that time, James Brown comes out with, I'm Black and I'm proud. We got people now talking about, well, don't call me Black. Get out. Calling you live on the air, KABF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, calling back, Ezekiel. Let me just say this, Sister Denise.
Okay.
And I'm glad you mentioned what you did. We not only let folks get away with saying things, they don't use the N-word, but we've got a senator right here that says slavery was a necessary evil, and there's no pushback to that remark. And every time you see him, he's surrounded by his white constituents, if you will. Yeah, I'm using these as euphemisms now. When I refer to certain things, I'm not always talking about that actuality. I use a lot of euphemisms. And when they say slave, that's the N-word. We say the N-word outright now instead of saying African. If we get mad, we'll say N-word. You know, and they'll say ex-slave, and he'll say slavery was a necessary evil. And no one pushes back on that statement and re-elects him. And I guess they glorify him because all the folks that I know around here won't say anything about what the honorable, and I use that word the way they use it. It doesn't mean honorable, but it just is a title. The Honorable Senator Mr. Cotton said that slavery is a necessary or was a necessary evil. And we don't have anybody speaking out against that evil. They'll beat you over the head if you don't tie it in church, but they won't say anything to their elected officials, and they'll work right alongside of them in their governments, if you will. And I know what the governments are. And, you know, I always refer to the past because the United States is less than 300 years old. It's just 250 years old or so, something like that, 1776. And, you know, we came from a region of the world that made things, that started things, everything from mathematics. I mean, you can refer to Pythagoras' scene, but he was taught by scholars who were excellent teachers the universities from where we came from were the only universities. There were folks that lived in Europe that didn't even know what a window was, all full. They stayed in caves and things like that. And, history proves that I'm telling the truth. So I just get out there and say, well, we have a right to say what we want to say about this government since we are being governed. We're being taxed to death, that's for sure. And those who aren't, well, I don't know what planet they're on, but we are part of it because we participate in it. We purchase their merchandise. We use their resources and things of that nature. I can go on, and I'll let somebody else go on and on. But I just want to get back and explain that. So, reach out to those folks who said ex-slaves, this and that. The governor down there in the Shantas talking about they learned from being slaves, and we're the teachers. I don't want to say anything else. I'll let somebody else talk. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a couple of things. So it's interesting that you said that about honorable. You called, talking about French Hill and Congressman French Hill and how he said that slavery was a necessary evil and that none of us are pushing back on it. And then you got some Black folks, like my dear friend, like Pat Rogers Ward, who will invite, not only will you not push back, but then you invite them on your show and showcase them as if we're friends, right? And so we have to begin to question those kind of, I don't have a problem if you're going to invite them on the show and then challenge him, right? That would be I would love to get him on the show. And let's have a real conversation, right? And so we have to begin, so that has to be part of the conversation. So if you're talking about, well, how powerful voting is because of what it was, then who were we then when it was powerful? Because I don't believe that we as Black folks are the same now to be able to say that voting is still just as powerful as it was back in the day. Oh, that was Tom Cotton. I said French Hill. It was Tom Cotton. Thank you, Deidre, for correcting me. Tom Cotton, whoever it was, we still have people, Black folks, who invite them on our show, on this this radio station. And so we got to talk about that. We have to have conversation about that. And I was at the Capitol yesterday because I was supposed to testify on behalf of youth fines and fees to get Senate Bill 382, 384 passed. And LaTanya Laird Austin was also scheduled to speak, and she had written her name on the list, and she wrote her last name, which is Honorable. Her name is LaTanya Austin Honorable. Honorable is her last name. And when the chairperson of the committee was reading her name to say, oh, we'll now have the next person on the list is LaTanya, and then she said, whatever she said, and then she said, well, I'm not gonna say that last part because I guess maybe that's what you're saying is your title. And so she could not even bring herself to use the word honorable, which is the woman's last name, couldn't even bring herself to use it as it relates to this Black woman who was showing up in this space. That happened yesterday. That didn't happen in the 60s. That happened yesterday. Calling you live on the air, KABF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Can I speak to a person who handles the AT&T accounts? My name's Amber.
Oh, okay. No, Amber, you've got the wrong number. Well, you don't have the wrong number, but we're not interested. Thank you. And so she couldn't even bring herself. And so LaTanya had to say to her when she sat down and she introduced herself, she said, no, that's my last name. Honorable is my last name. And you could, the woman was just like, I can't even equate the two. I'm looking at you, Black woman, and you want me to use the word honorable as I'm looking at you, Black woman? It was like, it happened right before my, cannot do it. And so we have to begin to bring all of the elements of the conversation to the forefront if we're going to have, because if you're going to say, well, let's do what we did in the 60s, well, we need to be who we were. James Brown came out with I'm Black and I'm proud. And we like it. We like to sing it. We like to hear it on the radio. But then are we living into what that means? Are we living into the sentiment? Do we really feel like that way down deep inside? I was so disappointed when I was trying to do those Black Love events. I don't know if you all remember, I was doing the Black Love events, and it started with women, and then I thought it was just going to be this one-off. And then it turned into, no, let's have this conversation with men. And it was when the men got up there, and I had already sent them the questions. I had already rooted and grounded the conversation about what it was supposed to be about. Clearly, some of them did not read, they were not prepared. Let me say it like that. They were not prepared. And if you're talking about a turncoat, the reason I invited them was because I felt like I knew how they felt, and I was inviting them on purpose. And then they got up there and they started talking about, well, why can't love just be love? Why you gotta call it black love? Why we gotta put black in front of everything? Like, I don't understand why we gotta talk about race. I'm like, what? Calling you live on the air, KABF at 8.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Yes, I'm sorry for calling back. I would like to, maybe for ones who can understand what I'm saying and the ones that don't understand. If you notice all the people from a bigger point of view, when they got all cold, things had went fast. Then they got back in harmony with the universal law, universal creator. Then things got all right. We as a people, black people, was not brought here to be equal. This is a white supremacist society. Where we are at now, if our people think white people had something to do with us evolving to what we at now, they really need to evaluate. It's the divine creator bringing us forward. If we get in harmony, we can almost change things overnight. But we want to stick to his way, his religion, and all these things, and this is what's hindering us. If we get in line like we supposed to be, like our ancient righteous people were, we'll go to the top overnight. And all this stuff about these people go help you and do something for you, anything that church got cooked and snake in it, it's not natural the way they do things. Now y'all think about what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, caller. And so I don't think, caller, you said that some people will understand you, and I think that there are some of us who will. I am one who understands you. But there's also going to be an entire group of folks who will dismiss everything that you just said because they're going to feel like you're not being politically correct. How dare you come onto this station and allow yourself to be heard over 100,000 watts of local community non-commercial radio, and now a global streaming platform where people can hear you all over the world, and you call or dare to even allude to white folks as evil or as snakes or people who are less than human or people who do evil things. Like, how dare you do that? Especially now you making us look bad, black man. Don't do that, don't say that. So you got a whole group of people who are not even gonna try to understand what you're saying because they're gonna be worried about the white gaze. How is this landing on the ears of white folks? How are they gonna respond to this? What are they gonna think about me when I show up? Are they gonna think that I think the same thing that you think? Are they gonna put me in the same categories? So we can't, so some folks ain't gonna even get it because they already worried about what white folks don't think about them if they do get it. And so that's part of the conversation that we have to have too. This white gaze that's constantly surveilling us, constantly upon us, constantly making us feel like we're not up to their standard, that we are now acquiescing to. Instead of saying, you can't, whiteness, the system of white inhumanity, you can't set no standard. It's not possible for you to set a standard. You have no standard. Everything you have belongs to us. And so those are the conversations that we have to have, and some black people can't because you can't tell the truth in public because you want to be politically correct. Here's another comment that I need to get up. So right here, this is Deidre. Black folk have pretended they are free so long that they forgot that they are pretending. Let me say it again. Black people have pretended they are free so long that they forgot they are pretending. This is communal mental illness. Well, that's interesting to me because I'm trying to figure out what about your life as a diasporian, a member of the African diaspora. What about your life makes you think you're free? What's happening in your world that makes you think so any free black folk out there, black folk, if y'all think y'all free, if you feel like you living free, if you feel like you got total control over your life, If you feel like your destiny is in your hands, please call me. And it's I ain't got but 6 minutes, so you can call me offline. 228 is my area code. 228-236-7440. 7440. Please, I want to hear from you. I want to sit and I promise you, I'm gonna wait till you stop talking. This is how I do when I'm one-on-one with folks. I'm gonna wait till you stop talking. And then I'm gonna say, okay, let me just ask some questions for clarification. I just need some clarification. So please, so I'm trying to figure out how you free. Please, yeah, and even if that's not what you thinking, if you understand that concept, that I understand how, if you think you get it, holler at me, because I don't know what makes you free. We still living in redlining. Redlining is still happening. Voter suppression is still happening. Mass incarceration is a reiteration of slavery. Like what part of your life is free? You ain't even worshiping a free God. Your God, if those of you who believe in the Trinity, those of you who believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and say the only way to God is through, you ain't even got your God ain't even free. So that just boggles my mind, because I do agree that there are some people out there think they free. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. And so if we're not going to have the conversations about who we are, as a matter of fact, I am now organizing an event that I'm going to go ahead and invite you to now. It's called Beyond Racism, Resistance in the Face of Anti-Blackness. That's what the event is called, Beyond Racism, Resistance in the Face of Anti-Blackness. It's going to be held right here at the Sanctuary, 520 East 16th Street. Is where I always have, when I used to have the In and Out with Teas, I would invite you all to game days with my mom. It's that same place, right over here in Petaway. It's going to start at 7 o'clock. The doors will open at 6:30. And I invite you to come and have this conversation, because we gotta talk about this stuff in a way that's meaningful and significant, and where we can hear each other. I am a facilitator, so I'm not worried about the conversation going left. I do know how to keep that from happening, and I won't let that happen. But we have to have some real conversations. And so it's a free event. Like, you're not being charged anything at the door. Ain't no offering gonna be collected. You ain't got to bring nothing but yourself. You can bring a friend if you want. You can bring your child if you want. It's gonna be a family conversation. Well, I don't know if I could say it'd be a fit. Like, we're not going to police people's language, so people might use profanity. So if your children cannot hear profanity, then perhaps you don't want to bring them, but they are welcome. And because it's interesting, they probably hear profanity in your house, but then you're like, I don't want them to hear it in public, but they hear it at home. But however you're raising your children, that's totally up to you. But again, it's going to be on the 19th of April, which is not the next Saturday, but the Saturday after that. Again, it's called Beyond Racism, Resistance in the Face of Anti-Blackness. Starts at 7 o'clock. Doors open at 6:30 at 520 East 16th Street. Is the they call it the Sanctuary because it looks like a church. It's a brick building on the corner of 16th and Park. That looks like a church. And so you are invited to come and have this conversation, because we have to talk about the reality of who we are in this world right now. Because not only are we still dealing with people who say things like slavery was a necessary evil, Senator Tom Cotton, but we've got people now, instead of calling it slavery or the system of chattel enslavement, they're calling it involuntary relocation. So that's the new phrase that people like your president and his cohort, which would include some Black folks. I'm not arguing that point. Now we're not gonna call it slavery. We're gonna say involuntary relocation. Like, what? Y'all, sometimes I have to laugh because this stuff like y'all is ridiculous. So Deidre says, we are in clear and present danger. We are in clear and present danger. And again, I don't think that, I'm not sure everyone realizes that and recognizes that. And so here's an opportunity for you to have conversation that absolutely positively shows you the manifestation of it. Like we can show, like we're gonna let you see it. So maybe you can't understand it from the conversation, but hey, maybe if you see it, maybe if you feel it in your body, maybe if you're on one accord with the people around you, then it'll penetrate your spirit. Like maybe this is the space for you. Again, it's April 19th at 7:00 p.m., 520 East 16th Street in the sanctuary. Doors will open at 6:30. It is a free event for all who will come, who are interested in the conversation. It is called Beyond Racism Resistance in the Face of Anti-Blackness. You are invited, all of you. Thank you so much for listening to The Workplace. It is now 10 o'clock. There is something going on with our system, our computer system. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play y'all some music. I will play y'all some music until somebody comes in here, because I'm in here by, I shouldn't say I'm in here by myself. So until somebody comes in here that knows how to do something with this computer, I'm gonna play y'all some music so that y'all can listen and be renewed, be revived, be regenerated in your whole body as you continue to think about where we are for such a time as this and where we need to go and how we gonna get there and what role you're gonna play in moving us forward. I'll see y'all next week. Thank you so much.